I know behind the scenes that station owners have been prepared for this for 15 years. Now they're being told, yes, the government is going to go ahead with this. There's always industry backlash. The government's saying they may take hours per day with different break-ins in the middle of a sports broadcast, the middle of the news, the middle of the weather, the middle of my radio show. They are at 9,000 locations putting the telescreens in. And it's not just Napolitano, it's other Homeland Security messages. The TSA obviously has gone from airports to sports stadiums and train stations. And that's all been announced. This is a full spectrum government takeover of media. And let me expand on that. Here's Pop Science. AP also reported on this. This is from 2009. New York State wants to put emergency alerts in your online games, which is the way most games are played now, is in millions of people at a time, hundreds of thousands at a time, playing online games. And it shows examples of terror threat alerts popping up on your computer screen. It continues. We have all these different reports here about how they're going to have billboards all over the place, which that's the first rollout at the 800-plus Walmarts, and then they announced 8,000-plus locations, Mall of America, with big screens with government messages, with audio, forcing you at the checkout counter to spend your time with Janet Napolitano and FEMA and Homeland Security, forcing you to listen to them on the radio, forcing you over your handheld computer device to get audio and text alerts from them. Just injecting the fear. And then always with this system, they started out for al-Qaeda, because, everybody hates al-Qaeda. And then next it's illegal guns. Next it's burning trash in your backyard. It's environmental crimes. It's the green police. This is the normalization of a high-tech 1984 society. By the way, Kurt Nimmo did a story on this that just went up in the last 20 minutes at Infowars.com. We're going to get it posted over at PrisonPlanet.com as well. Obama launches total takeover of media. And that's also the name of the video we're going to be posting to YouTube that you just saw and heard here. And Nimmo begins the article by saying, even the Washington Post describes it like something out of Orwell's 1984. And he has a link to the Washington Post, but they're like, oh, it's fun. It's good. It's like 1984. It's fun. Oh, there's going to be telescreens on the highways and in the town squares and in all the shops. And these are now going in. We're getting the video sent to us of Walmart supercenters everywhere, at every checkout line, just telling you, watch out, terrorists are everywhere. Watch out, the internet's not safe. The announcements that are being played on these systems are also at the YouTube channel of Homeland Security. And they've got a whole string of them now saying, TSA cannot always be here to protect you, but we're going to try. And then it shows TSA at football games and things, just where people are watching screens being prepared. Again, first they prepare you via the television screen, what people see as not reality, for the physical rollout, so we're acclimated to accept it. And we've got to get station owners and station managers and others to start saying no to this. This is a major trial balloon they're launching, and this is about taking over the alternative media, the internet, everything. It's so serious. They're really now implementing all these executive orders and things that have been on the books for decades. So the federal government, through the continuity of government systems set up back in the 50s for nuclear war, has quietly rolled out a system through cybersecurity, already being put in place despite the fact that cybersecurity hasn't been officially passed by Congress. And they're admitting that they are hardwiring government takeover systems into all of the ISPs, where they can overlay messages on all websites, all cell phones, all online cooperative play video games. They've already put the systems in as of 15 years ago with the Telecommunications Act at all broadcast TV, cable, even though the FCC is supposedly not really over that, and radio. And it doesn't matter if we're on WWCR, the big 100,000-watt shortwave in Tennessee, they've got it wired. It doesn't matter if we're on 590 AM here in Austin, they've got it wired. And we just accept this, and the stations pay their taxes to then have this forced on them It's incredible. And previous to 96, they had a government frequency they would tune to during the emergency, and one local station would have the Takeover box in it, and then other stations would tune to that, only in case of a nuclear war. Then they passed the Amber Alerts, which sounds reasonable. If there's a missing little girl, they'll have billboards, digital billboards, radio announcements, TV announcements. But now you see the billboards, where I live here in Austin, and it will say, report environmental crimes, report illegal guns, report terrorists. They are using this system and now forcing it, if there was any doubts, into the stores, into the markets, into the malls, into the city squares and town squares, where you're just bombarded by government media that you pay for with your tax money. This is the dream of dictators like Stalin and Hitler and Ceausescu and Pol Pot and Fidel Castro. And in classical tyrannies, the government controls the media, but sometimes the media doesn't do what they want, so they send the police or military to the outfit to take it over. This is different. This is government developing its own news packages and forcing it into the checkout lines at Walmart and Mall of America, forcing it onto your cell phone, bombarding you, breaking into your life, and being able to shut the media off and completely take it over. And the federal government now admits the Pentagon has built giant TV studios for just that event and has created Armed Services Television, and they've got backup units now through FEMA television to totally take over, and now they're getting you ready for it, saying, yes, during an economic emergency, remember Bush signed that executive order, Obama continued it, for any emergency, including economic, they can seize control of the entire infrastructure, and Congress can say nothing for 6 months. Remember 3 years ago when I freaked out when Bush did that? And we said, I don't know if they're going to pull full martial law, but they're putting troops on the streets, running checkpoints, TSA, Viper teams, getting us all acclimated. But before they do it, they'll start coming out and testing it. Well, now the testing is here. They could take over 5 years from now or next month or tomorrow night. The point is that sword of Damocles is now hanging over us. And this is all run by FEMA. Now, what did FEMA do? And this was on Good Morning America with the county parish sheriff of the New Orleans county that New Orleans is in. And he went on TV and broke down and cried and told the truth. And he said he had officers who were not allowed by the feds to go in and get their families out of the nursing home. And the grandmother had a phone working and called and said, are you coming to get me? And they said, we're coming to get you. We're coming to get you. And 2 days later, we're coming to get you. We're coming to get you. They won't let us. 4 days later, they go. They get her. She's dead. Then he broke down. He said, FEMA sabotaged us. They came in and cut the communication lines. They did it the first night when the storm hit. They ran that whole thing. Just like they want to cut local police lines, they've got grids in to take it all over. We're talking about the future of the media. You've all now, we talked about it a decade ago when DARPA began to announce it, but now it's mainstream news, so people don't laugh at us, about the internet kill switch, the Pentagon-run kill switch. They call it the Obama kill switch, shutting the internet off like Egypt did to save the internet. And, oh, we've got to put this in place because of the Stuxnet worm, which our own government admits they launched with Israel. So our government launches this worm and then says they've got to take the web over because of it. They're announcing, and it's starting, they're going to put hardwired systems inside the chips of your phones. They're already in place under the Telecommunications Act, that the phones be compatible with this by 2001. That's now 10 years ago. But they announced all this in 1996. And I've been warning people since then. Your phones, your computers, your television, your digital alarm clock, your local AM and FM radio stations, your local UHF, VHF cable, at the transmission tower or at the transmission point, at the cable system, at the radio station, shortwave, AM, FM, digital, it doesn't matter. Under federal regulations, since 96, there are hardwired boxes that everything has to go through in case of a nuclear war. Then they would give you announcements. But now they admit they're setting up a top-down system where the president will start making announcements, and so will FEMA and Homeland Security. You notice at 9,000 locations. First it's 846, and then a week later they go, no, it's 9,000 locations. Now they're saying, oh, it's actually 16,000 locations. I needed to correct that. I saw this weekend it's now 16,000. I mean, will it be 50,000 next? It's exponential. They're training the clergy response teams. We got those secret documents 6 years ago. People didn't believe it, even though it had FEMA phone numbers. Then 3 years later, they put out newscasts saying, yes, we're training your preachers during martial law to tell you to submit to government and to turn your guns in. We've had those preachers on. We've had the sheriffs on that have carried out the training. One of them apologized for it and said he didn't realize how serious it was. And now Obama is announcing that he's going to be on telescreens at Walmart and at malls and at grocery stores and on the side of the highway, big digital screens with loudspeakers. When you're playing online video games, they're going to be breaking in with messages. California's going to test it out with FEMA, where you have a digital LCD screen that actually has a tracker system in it as your license plate with government messages that are wirelessly transmitted to it. So you see most wanted announcements, advertisements to raise money, making your car become an advertisement, and then terror alerts. I mean, this is beyond 1984. And even the Washington Post describes it like 1984, but says it's a good 1984. That's the first link in Kurt Nimmo's article, Obama launches total takeover of media. Total takeover of media. They're launching the total takeover system to be able to take over media, and now seeing if we'll go along with this. Now, if there's any doubts, in Kurt Nimmo's article, it is filled with documentation. In Aaron Dykes' video that he stayed up all night to put together, hasn't slept. When we saw this announcement by Obama yesterday through Federal News Radio, and they had the spokesman from FEMA on saying, yes, we've always had this power, during a nuclear attack, to make these announcements. Now you're not just going to hear the test, the bang, bang, bang. This is an emergency alert system. This is only a test. If this was an actual emergency, you would stand by for announcements. Now you're going to start getting the announcements that there's terrorists everywhere and watch your neighbor and support your dear leader. This is the government taking over the media, forcing its way in. And I remember, again, 8 years ago, station managers, one guy manages a whole string of stations around the country, but they were carrying my show. I was doing my show out of there. It wasn't 98.9. It's not 590. I've gotten reports from those as well over the years, both places I worked. But from this particular station, and I'm not going to name them, people can figure out which one it was if they're Austin listeners, I was allowed to see the latest stuff, and they were freaking out in this meeting going, they're telling us to get ready for government announcements in the future. But there was industry pressure. People said, this is outrageous, so it didn't happen then. It's now happening, and if we don't scream and yell about this, they're going to be able to get away with this. But remember, anytime they want, your cell phone, your computer, the newest clock radios, the cable that goes into your house, everything, radio, TV, broadcast, cable, all of it, the government can flip a switch and take it all over anytime they want. And they're saying in the Associated Press, in Reuters, and Aaron's video has all these articles in it, should Obama control the internet? Well, yes, to say that he should. Total kill switch. They may shut the web off to protect it, but they're going to incrementally get you trained that it's their right to do it first.
This is a test of the emergency alert system.
Executive Order 10,995 allows the government to seize and control the communication media.
Our nation is at war against a far-reaching network of violence and hatred. Training camps have been struck, leaders eliminated, plots disrupted. And all those involved in the attempted act of terrorism must know you too will be held to account.
Think about it. 15 years ago, we allowed the federal government to hardwire emergency takeover systems of all major communications and media in the United States. Now the federal government's coming out in the open and admitting what was already in their internal documents, that they're going to begin having federal break-ins over local news.
If this had been an actual alert, this message would contain specific information on the watch or warning being issued.
Well, it's really happening. Bona fide tyranny is coming to our shores. If you look at Egypt, you've witnessed how the government has seized control of the TV and radio stations. But in the United States, the federal government doesn't need to do that, because under changes in FCC regulations over television and radio in 1996, EAS emergency systems are put in at the radio or TV towers. They're also put in at the national and local cable systems, where the federal government puts a box in at the transmission tower where they can flip a switch and shortwave towers nationwide take over those computers and put out an audio signal of whatever message they want. I am a radio broadcaster. And I remember 15 years ago when this change was made, watching the engineer at the radio station where I worked and the station manager literally freaking out. They were sent documents that the FCC said were restricted, but I was allowed to look at them, and I was allowed to videotape them. And I put it in my 1999 film, Police Day 2000.
Well, my friends, you're looking at a FEMA control box. That's right, at 98.9 KJFK-FM, where I work in Austin, Texas. That, my friends, can take over the radio station. It is radio controlled by a FEMA tower. That's right, a FEMA tower in New Braunfels, Texas. It covers almost all of the central part of the state of Texas. Little teletypes come printing out of the side of the machine weekly and update us. In the past, it was voluntary. Now it's mandatory, and they can remote control take over the station.
And in those, they told them that in the near future, the federal government would routinely seize control of their broadcast system, not during a plague or a nuclear attack or a war, but that they would seize control for routine announcements. So it was put in place, but it wasn't implemented. Now, President Barack Obama, through the FCC, has announced today that they are going to begin testing and implementing national announcements with the president giving messages to the public.
Everybody has heard the National Emergency Alert System. Radio and TV stations regularly test it to make sure the public is notified in times of peril. Well, that system is overseen by the FCC. And now the agency wants to upgrade it by having presidential announcements feed into the alert system. It's also looking at how wireless broadband could also enhance EAS.
But it gets worse. 8 years ago, I was not doing my radio show out of the studio. I was doing it out of a local talk station. I didn't have my own studio then. They got new communiques from the FCC telling them that they should prepare in the near future for multiple hours per day of federal break-ins over the local AM station. And the same systems in the cable systems, broadcast TV, talk radio, you name it. And I went to the station manager. And I said, please come on my show, talk about this. And he said, no, I showed you this stuff in confidence. You're not allowed to talk about it. You can say you heard about it, but not where. Now, since then, I've done shows out of another big talk station here in town. I've been a guest in many stations around the country, over 80 stations now that pick up my syndicated radio show. And in the last week, I have talked to station owners and managers who are now getting internal communiques from the FCC, and they're told it's national security, that they're not allowed to talk about it, but that there are going to be more and more government break-ins over radio and TV. Now, I got that news, but was trying to figure out what to do with it when today the big announcement comes out, and the FCC Obama spokesperson lady says, oh, this is no big deal. We've always had this in place. We're now just going to implement it. Well, I guess that's true. There are executive orders to seize all transportation. There are executive orders to put every American into forced labor brigades. There are executive orders to take over all the media under nuclear attack, under continuity of government. The point is now Obama is beginning to implement this. Before 1996, you had one local station that under an emergency situation would broadcast the EAS alert. Other stations would tune to that station and carry those emergency alerts. No country in the world, not communist Russia back during the Soviet Union pre-1991, not Ceausescu's Romania, none of them had actual boxes in the radio and TV stations that would take over the entire transmission. These are wired in under regulations to the broadcast towers and at the studios. Everything by law, and I've watched the engineers complain and bitch and moan for years, has to be wired through these, and it causes all sorts of problems. They have to do weekly checks randomly where the federal government tests the takeover of the station to make sure it's in place. This is happening in America right as we go into a depression, right as foreign banks loot our country, right as they try to start new wars in the Middle East. Do you see what's happening? But it gets worse. FEMA began to put out press releases last year saying, you know what? We're going to have digital license plates across the country that have most wanted videos popping up. It'll be an LCD screen. And we're going to give you government announcements over those. You know those billboards we put up for Amber Alerts with kidnapped little kids? Now it's going to be report illegal guns, report terrorism. They're putting in these giant telescreens at these 9,000 locations, Walmarts, malls, you name it, saying, don't trust other shoppers. Don't trust your neighbors. Only trust Big Brother. Only trust the government. Napolitano comes and inserts herself at the Super Bowl, has the TSA running checkpoints with local trained goons actually doing frisk and feeling people up. We're going into bondage. And now, in the midst of the accelerating global financial meltdown, the White House announces and says, oh, it's no big deal. We've had this on the books for years. Yeah, martial law plans for years. We're going to start testing the voice of Obama, breaking in on the media. And they're announcing that Xbox video games and other systems are going to have government announcements that pop up. Cass Sunstein, the regulations czar, has said that they want pop-ups on websites they don't agree with government messages. Google's already testing this where it tells you, ooh, look out going to this site. This information's been proven to be wrong. The internet kill switch, the cybersecurity takeover, it's all happening. They've got new FCC rules where all the alarm clocks and televisions have to have hardwired chips in them so they can fire your television or radio up and make you hear announcements in the middle of the night. They've also announced in this new press release that, oh, the FCC and the federal government are going to put in free national broadband that we pay for as taxpayers, but it's going to be under our filtered rules. In the free broadband in Europe at the bus and train stations, guess whose websites are censored? Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. What did Google announce 2 weeks ago? That they're going to start censoring and blocking out from their searches content farms like the Drudge Report and Infowars.com. That is, sites that aggregate news and make comments on news. This is a full spectrum takeover of the media in our country. This is an attack on free speech. This is literal government messages on digital billboards, at checkout counters, on your license plate, on your cell phone, on your pop-up video games. This is the federal government coming in and forcing their messages directly into the media because the population doesn't buy into their propaganda anymore. There has been a continuity of agenda. This has been going on for decades. They've been setting the system up. But now they're rolling it out, and that's the message here. What does it say about our society? This is unbelievable. This is the Fairness Doctrine 2.0. This is authoritarian censorship by way of government break-ins with announcements. No country's ever done this. This is beyond 1984, and it's really happening. Do people realize the magnitude of this? And in America, supposed land of freedom, I'm getting frantic calls from station owners and managers as they're being told to get ready for all of this to happen in the last few weeks. And going back 8 years ago and going back 15 years ago, when I get these documents as they put this system in place, the station owners are afraid to speak out. The station managers are afraid to speak out. Why? Why? We need to say no. This is a free market, free private property society. In the name of security, the government is hardwiring everything so they can take it over? Egypt, anybody? This is worse than what happened in Egypt. That's what Mubarak did. But he didn't have it hardwired. He physically had the army go take it over. This is as plain as the nose on my face. This is brazen, naked, hardcore, scary tyranny. And when I saw them announce this, even though I knew it was coming for all these years, it shook me to my very core, and it should shake you. When they put tyranny in place, they can take the pension funds, the veterans' death benefits, that's already begun. They can jack up taxes. They can shut down newspapers, TV, radio. The last time this happened was during the Civil War. Lincoln did similar things, arresting scores of newspaper owners and editors. This is here. The globalists have committed so many crimes. They know they're unpopular with the people. They know Congress has an 11% approval rating, and so they are moving with the system to force their propaganda onto all private media in this country. And it's going to start with little short announcements, and it's going to move until huge blocks of programming are openly taken over by the government. If we don't have free speech in the First Amendment and a free press in this country, we have nothing. The internet has been a wonderful tool to enlighten and inform and awaken the masses. but it's also a double-edged sword created by DARPA. Electronics, computer chips are so cheap, everything is being wired for the federal takeover. This is announced. This is a fact. We're entering a time when you're not going to be able to access Infowars.com and other alternative sites. We're already being blocked all over the world. They've already got the system in place, and that's scary enough. But if they send up this trial balloon and we go along with it, they are going to implement the full takeover of the media. Whether you're liberal, conservative, libertarian, communist, socialist, it doesn't matter. Atheist, Christian, all media is under attack. We must come together and resist this. We must say no to this. This is a major canary in the coal mine. This is a full spectrum takeover of the media. Let's not let them pull that switch. Get the word out to everybody. I have been having chills for 3 hours since this announcement came out. I knew the hammer was going to drop. But this is so incredible. We've got to hang together for the First Amendment, or we're surely going to hang separate. Thank you. The rest is up to you. Please spread the word. It is now time for radio and TV station owners to stand up to this corruption, to this police state takeover of the First Amendment and private property, and let the system know they are not going to put up with the federal government's takeover of our media system. Enough is enough. But Aaron, going over the research last night, because we already knew all of this, it was the fact that they put it in place already. Now they're getting the public ready for it. What was it like for you to see this information?
Yeah, the thing that strikes me the most is the continuity of agenda behind the whole thing. This particular executive order was set up by Bush, but Obama gets to implement it. But more, we see Napolitano and this Homeland Security see something coming out of nowhere, but it really integrates with this warning program. And from a technical standpoint, this thing goes off of XML priorities. So any priority will override the system, either at the local, regional, or whatever level. But
no, everything's hard-coded.
But they've watered the terrorism down so vaguely so that it's anything suspicious, even when there's no credible, information that there could be an attack.
And they're doing drills with military and police. If there's a backfire from a car, they lock everything down, and they're training us for these lockdowns.
Yeah, and if things do go to a full martial law level, it's going to bypass the police right away. I've got a report here from Spectra Rep.
And by the way, what happened at FEMA? What happened at Katrina? And I've had the local officials on. The FEMA came and cut the transmission lines at their radio towers, and they had to put armed guards with shotguns and were in standoffs when they repaired it. And they wouldn't let the police go in and save people at nursing homes, and they wouldn't let people get out over the causeways, over the highways. They made them stay there as a drill to see if, and then they confiscated the guns. I mean, in fact, later we'll play the sheriff from the county that New Orleans is in saying this. Sorry, go ahead.
No, but this November 2010 report about this current installment of alerts mentions how, for example, a roadside sign may be programmed to wake up if the response is to evacuate, but not to wake up if it's for shelter. So in other words, these Amber Alert signs are going to go live whenever they punch the alert.
And they admitted it was never about the little girl. It was, we're taking all the media over for the little girl. No, it's about total control. And now they admit in this Obama press release, he's going to be making announcements at you daily. You're not going to just hear stations that want to carry the presidential address once a week. You're going to have to listen to him. You're going to have to see him and Napolitano when you're at Walmart checkout lines.
Yeah, and it's interesting. There's a quote related to Bush's signing in 2006, this executive order 13407. He says, this alert system is in part to ensure that under all conditions, the president can communicate with the American people. And it's just amazing. They're using all the up-to-date technology for a top-down approach. They're going to enter your Xbox and your other video games. They're going to enter your smart...
This is all announced. And again, Microsoft admitted, again, a decade ago, that all of their computers are hardwired in with these government switches. And so under the Telecommunications Act, folks, when you see that little FCC approval sticker on a radio or on a computer or anything, by law, they make you pay for it when you purchase it. They make you pay for the cost. They have government takeover switches in them so they can also spy on you, just like the TiVo and other systems are tracking what you're watching. This is hard. This is what cybersecurity is. They admit the Cybersecurity Act. Everything is hardwired, not just your AM and FM stations.
But if I don't misunderstand the way things were with this alert system, even though they had a local regional FEMA director who could punch that button at all these radio stations, they couldn't do that nationwide all in one push before, but under this system, they totally can. Right.
Well, to be technical, since '96 they can. They claim there was the designate for the local FEMA director, but these boxes are shortwave controlled. Okay, now they're trying to force them to put satellite dishes and things in so they have higher quality, media, government media. But it's a shortwave system, breaks in, and then a shortwave feed goes out over the system. That's one of the systems.
But the overall point is that it's centralizing into very few hands of power.
Yeah, and they'll also have a local designated FEMA AM and FM. So the shortwave's the backup, but it breaks in with that. But we can have engineers school us on the finer details of this. But I mean, here we are. Can you think of a more 1984 system? And that's what these telescreens are at the 9,000 shopping malls and Walmarts, is the rollout to get us used to government there hanging over us at the checkout line that, oh, we get government messages now. This is normal. And it was Walmart who got the Universal Product Code adopted with the Pentagon. It's Walmart trying to force RFID through right now.
But the thing is, all this stuff fell apart at the seams under Bush. I mean, that 5 or 4 color alert chart that went from orange to red was a total joke.
Well, now they're just, and Ridge admits that was done to scare people. But see, now they're just going to basically keep us at orange all the time. That's why they got rid of it.
And what are people going to say when it's in their shopping malls and their sports stadiums? I mean,
it's there. It's going in.
It doesn't make sense, but I guess people just want to go to the Super Bowl, so.
Well, Aaron, how long till this is up on the Alex Jones channel at YouTube so we can post a special 13-minute report at InfoWars and Prison Planet?
It is now live, and it's in the stories, too, so.
Good job, Aaron. You need to go home and get some sleep. Just to be clear, I didn't force Aaron to stay up all night, and I was so upset doing research on this, I stayed up all night as well. Great job, Aaron.
All right. Thanks, Alex.
Thank you so much. I don't want to miss the forest for the trees. Yes, EAS is wrong. Yes, it's indentured servitude to the federal government. Yes, stations spend incredible amounts of money, even big ones, fiddling and yelling. And yes, it's not right, but they do it, cussing the EAS system. But that's not, for me, even the issue. Okay, sure, it's free market. It's an issue of liberty on that front. They are announcing that they're going to force you now to listen to presidential and FEMA and Homeland Security fear-mongering reports. That is out of a science fiction movie of tyranny. In every dystopic novel written about a future tyranny, the government has telescreens everywhere telling you to fear your neighbors and telling you to spy on people. I mean, it's like they're using 1984 as a handbook. And here's the issue. And I'm going to your calls. When Obama was super hot, when Obama was the savior and had an 80+% national approval rating during the end of the campaign in the first month when he got elected, when people thought they were going to get free houses, free cars, that he was like a leprechaun that was just going to give them everything they wanted, the pot of gold at the end of a rainbow, his videos on YouTube would get 300,000, 1 million, 2 million views. When you go to whitehouse.gov, videos that are 3 months old have like 2,000 to 3,000 views. His new videos have a couple hundred. They can't shovel this stuff. You go to Homeland Security website, unless we link to one of their videos to point out the police state, it gets like 300 views in a month. No one wants to listen to them. No one wants to, not even the mind-numbed, mainline liberals. And for all you liberals out there that are loving this takeover of the media and Cass Sunstein calling to arrest people that criticize man-made global warming and all of this, and those are all on record. And the FCC diversity czar saying we should be like Hugo Chavez and shut down conservative media. What do you think is going to happen when a Republican gets in? This is done by the military-industrial complex, the big banks that have taken our country over. This is a system that they put in under Clinton that's continued right through with Bush and now Obama. And they cite executive orders under nuclear war from the 60s as their pretext in these government documents to do it. But the issue is this was all going on under the surface. So if you weren't in media and you didn't know engineers and station managers and owners, you didn't know about it. I put it in my 99 film, Police State 2000. Now they're announcing they're going to start forcing you to hear these announcements. And who grandstands at the Super Bowl, at press conference after press conference, like she's a celebrity up there with movie stars? Janet Napolitano. saying spy on each other. They're forcing their way into our lives like our new pastime is worshiping government and spying on each other because no one wants to listen to them. No one buys what they're saying. It isn't enough the billions spent for propaganda placement in TV, not just ads, but messages in the shows. It's not enough all the reporters they've bought off. Remember Armstrong Williams? That's the tip of the iceberg, getting $250,000 to go around and push stuff for the White House secretly. This is full spectrum takeover of the media. They're announcing your online video games. Government messages will be forced on. Your cell phones, everything. Okay, enough of me. I just wanted to lay that out. This is about them making, so you choose to tune into this show. You choose to tune into that local station because you like what it has to say. You get value from it. They're forcing you to hear from them, and they're putting these systems in with taxpayer money and using coercion to make everybody go along with this. And that's not enough for them. Now at the Walmart checkout line, now at the shopping mall checkout line, now at the county square, now everywhere, you're going to be subjected to this. I'm going to be subjected to this Orwellian nightmare. Okay, let's go ahead and talk to Chris in North Carolina. Chris, you're on the air. Go ahead. What do you do in media?
I'm a program director, Alex. It's a pleasure to talk with you. I'm a fairly new listener to your program, so I want to thank you for doing what you're doing. Got a couple questions for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is your program required to air this? Are you going to run it?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And you know why? I don't have a broadcast tower on top of the facility that I'm in. I send it up to a satellite, and then FCC-regulated systems pick it up. But yes, under the architecture they've put in, all broadband, all cell phones, all internet websites, and they already have this technology, will have break-ins and messages, or they'll just turn the internet off. So, no, I'm not going to do anything, the FCC says. They don't have jurisdiction over me, but you know, we follow the FCC rules because we already, don't have a potty mouth program. Again, they set the precedent with, oh, you can't have cuss words because it sounds reasonable. Then it's, oh, you can't bash people politically. See, and then they set that precedent.
No. Now, reading an article on Radio World, it's saying here that all EAS participants have until September 30th of this year to implement CAP. Am I reading that properly, that this isn't going to happen before September 30th?
Well, there are literally scores of federal agencies all arguing with each other. What we know is under the 96 Telecommunications Act that I've been screaming bloody murder over ever since, it said every cell phone, every computer device that receives either plugged into the internet or wireless will have default codes that when they receive this government code, that the computer or cell phone device will be taken over. It's said in the specs. That's how we knew it then. People couldn't believe it. Now, of course, there's newscasts all the time going, hey, the government's listening to you on your phone, even when it's off. Hey, the government's using your OnStar to listen to you. They can break in and use that microphone. Hey, there's going to be government announcements on your cell phone. The FCC is trying to push all the manufacturers of clock radios, radio clock radios, to where there's a little chip in there where it automatically turns on for, quote, weather alerts because, oh, a tornado's coming your way. So they have the EAS in place. I mean, you can go to Infowars.com and read our article, Obama Launches Total Takeover of Media, and then it links to Federal Radio, and Federal Radio, of course, is a group of stations in the D.C. area. FCC presidential emergency alerts to be tested, and they have the FCC FEMA spokesperson in a little 5-minute or so audio clip, and we're linked to this up on Infowars.com, where they talk about how, yes, in the next few months, they are integrating now a top-down system where it's all centrally controlled. They could always break in with that, but it was before regionally run by FEMA. Now it's all going to be run out of the White House, FEMA, Homeland Security. And they announced there that they're going to now begin breaking in with actual presidential announcements, not just the test announcement that someday you might hear an announcement during an emergency. Is that clear?
Well, It very clear. The EAS has always kind of been a hassle to me. However, it's absolutely insane what's going on here. But the question is, how do you fight it? Can we fight it? What do you do? The information's great, but what's next? How do we fight it?
man, let's put our heads together. We need to lobby Congress, station owners, managers. We have a right, broadcasters, listeners, have a right to our free speech to say we don't like the fact that the FCC has been wanting the fairness doctrine, that the FCC is saying they have jurisdiction over the Internet. They've already put the controls in. Now they just want the legalese done. We don't want them politicizing this system that's already unconstitutional and basically using it for political partisan gain. And both political parties and independents shouldn't be for it. And you need to, when you go to your North Carolina Association of Broadcasters or your Texas Association of Broadcasters that have a lot of power, you guys need to say, look, let's talk about, every station person I've ever talked to is completely angry about this. And they did trial balloons 2 other times telling them, get ready for the government to routinely break in with longer announcements. And they're also talking about, in the Senate, Jay Rockefeller's talking about government-controlled cable TV that basically mandates what can be said and done there. He said we'd be better off without ever having the Internet, that he'd like to, quote, shut down Fox News and MSNBC. So we get the word out. Look, you guys have the media. And if you don't use it to save it, we're going to lose it. Use the First Amendment as they're trying to shut it down, because the First Amendment's meant to defeat the First Amendment when they try to get rid of free speech, as every corrupt, decadent empire always tries to do. You're right.
Well, I really appreciate all that you do, and I'm going to research this more, continue listening to you guys. But, you're great what you do, Alex, and I really appreciate it.
Chris, you're great, and I appreciate your call. But, I'm just doing my duty here. People are always like, you're doing such a great job, Alex. Look, obviously, if the government says, we want you to have a local station wired into FEMA in case there's a nuclear attack, we're going to break in with these alerts. That's been going on before FEMA existed under COG, continuity of government. It's been going on since the 50s. But then the stations tuned to the station. And if they tuned in and saw some dictator saying, I am your leader, turn in your guns, you better believe that the other stations would get on and say, don't listen to it. It's tyranny. They don't want to trust you with the power of your own free speech in your own station. That's why they make you wire in the final chain at the broadcast tower everything through it. So it's there. And I've got this clip, but I'm going to play it later when Tyrell Ventura's on with us, because I want to get to the rest of your calls. But I have the sheriff from out in Louisiana there in New Orleans talking about FEMA cutting the police radio tower. And the police came and said, the sheriffs, why did you do this? We need these radios. Everybody said, the police in New Orleans and the county police, they just stood down and walked off the job. No, it turned out FEMA, as the storm hit, ran cell phone jammers. That's on record. That's mainstream news. You can pull it up. FEMA ran cell phone jammers during Katrina as it hit. Then they went in with axes and hacked up the police, sheriff, and police department towers. They don't want your local government being in place. What do you think the John Warner Defense Authorization Act says? It says the federal government's preparing for sedition in the states and by governors. And Obama has created a 10-member governor's council so he can claim the governors are still in control. But those 10 appointed governors have the power over the 10 FEMA regions. It's all covered in Police State 4, The Rise of FEMA, that came out last year. We covered this again. The whole spectrum. You've got to get all the pieces to see it. Oh, man, this is really freaking me out. Because they're announcing now that they're going to start having these announcements. Now, if we don't go along with it, they'll back off. But we've got to keep fighting. Richard in California, thanks for holding. Are you an engineer, talk show host? What do you do in radio?
Alex, yeah, I'm an engineer. I work at a TV station right here in L.A. And I've been there since the old days of the EBS, when it was an AM receiver tuned to a local station here, and it was voluntary that we shut our transmitter off and, let people tune to the local AM station to get all the information. But since 96, this EAS thing has become mandatory. And here recently, within the last 6 months or so, we've had to keep a log of all those printouts, and that thing prints out constantly. You know, the little tape that comes out.
Notice, notice though, it's always more. Even during the Cold War, imminent nuclear war, it was voluntary, and now, you got to have it. And now, by the way, we're going to start making some little announcements. And at Walmart, telescreen. See, it's about forcing their way in.
And they've really forced their way in. And like I said, we have to now keep a complete log of it. And the tape that comes out in a 24-hour period is maybe 10 feet long. And like I say, it's a constant, every hour something is printing out.
Now, I know working in radio stations, that federal box just sits there, everything wired through it. So the last piece in the chain, and it's just spitting out orders. I mean, it's incredible.
And one other thing I'll let you know, too, is the V-chip that they put in the TVs.
Yes.
They are able to break into your TV with that.
Oh, I know. That's the 1996 Telecommunications Act. Every cell phone, every TV. In 96, they said, here's the mandate. All manufacturers by 2001, it has to be in place. A lot of cell phones, a lot of TVs had it immediately. Now, everything's got it. And that's why they want you on digital TV. Because if you were still picking up old-fashioned broadcast, that meant you had an old, tube television you liked. My mom still got one that, that we had when I was a kid in the kitchen. She just loves it. And it still works, but it won't work now because of the digital feed. But, I mean, do you see the dastardliness of this?
Yeah, I see it, but it's like the people around me, they're going, oh, it's no big deal. I'll give you one example. On Saturday, my daughter's laptop was sitting on the kitchen table, right? And the thing turned itself on. Her webcam came on, and the thing logged onto some website. And I'm thinking, what's going on here? Maybe she left the computer on. But we found out the thing was logging itself on.
Hold on, I'm going to hold you over. And we're getting Tyrell on right after. Then I'm going to go to John, Julio, and Don at least. But exactly. Remember Pennsylvania, where the school told on itself because they were ready to announce it? They said, yeah, we've taken 30,000+ images and videos of your kids at home over the laptops. We're watching them take showers. We're watching them take drugs. It turned out it was Skittles the kid was eating. And they just announced it with government-issued laptop. People are like, well, it's a free laptop. No, you paid for it with tax money. Stay there. Absolutely. Look, Homeland Security is taking over, folks. It's what's so frustrating about it. It's really happening. We're going to put on screen for you for Pennsylvania, where the school district settled for taking thousands. It was over 30,000 photos and videos of children. They settled for $610,000. Now, how did we discover this last year? The school came out and called parents and said, we've been watching your children. And they said, what? They said, yeah, we can turn the video camera on, and we can video them or take still shots of it. I remember about 7 years ago in Tennessee, it was headline in the news, panic caused when girls' basketball team finds camera in shower. And the parents were still normal and not brainwashed. They went, what's going on? It was a visiting team, but the local school was brainwashed because they'd announced it and told everybody that was in there. They said, well, we have fights sometimes in the showers. Same thing happened in the capital of California, Sacramento. That it turned out the police were accessing the bathroom cams. Folks, this is so... And I've had people come to me on the street and say, schools aren't watching kids over their laptops. You're a liar. They won't even search it. In fact, we'll put the headline back on screen. Pennsylvania school settles 2 webcam spy lawsuits for $610K. The point is, this is all hardwired into everything. Google announced 5 years ago that they are now accessing the camera and the microphone. Connect, that sold millions of video games for Microsoft. The platform has cameras, voice recognition, and admits they're watching and listening to you in your home. It's hooked to the internet. But see, it isn't just this EAS system. Finishing up with Richard, then John, Julio, and Don. I got to move quick now. I apologize. It's just trying to give everybody all the data here of how big this is. Richard in California, finishing up your point about your daughter's laptop getting hijacked.
Yeah, my daughter's laptop Saturday, it got hijacked. Somebody kept turning it on, and the some application she downloaded for a video chat, it kept logging on. And, you know, my daughter wasn't at home, and I'm wondering what's going on here.
Well, look, don't let your children be on computers unless you're standing right above them. I'm not criticizing you. I mean, they're ubiquitous, but you've got to. I remember media 10 years ago being in my office and laughing at me because all the laptops that had cameras or computers with cameras had sticky tape over them. And they were like, oh, the government's watching you. Oh, isn't it funny? But now it's all admitted.
Yeah, it's all admitted. You're right. You're right. And thanks a lot.
Richard, thank you. God bless you. I mean, folks, this is beyond 1984. They think they've got us. Now they're putting telescreens in at the shopping mall telling you to watch your neighbors. You're walking by and there's government announcements saying watch people. I mean, this isn't freedom. I've got the SLAT training. I've got the clergy response team training stuff. I've got the InfraGard. Folks, they've got over 500,000, quote, executives in this country, and they profile them. If the guy's a good guy, they don't ever tell them the full program. But if they're globalists, they give them the authorization under government code orders to their cell phones to kill people. I mean, they are building an army of pure evil. I couldn't sleep last night. I can't sleep now. I haven't had coffee yesterday, after noon. I wasn't up drinking coffee, folks. I laid there in bed, and I'm somebody who's always loved sleep. I could sleep 10 hours straight like the dead. My wife's always joked that there can be a thunderstorm above and the whole house shaking, windows breaking with trees falling down. I don't wake up. I can't sleep because I've studied the full spectrum breakdown. I mean, this is real. How else do I say it? It's so evil. It's happening. These people are criminals.